Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking one of history's absolute most terrifying mysteries. And trust me, we're going to uncover some astonishing truths hiding just beneath the sand. We're diving into a story that gripped the entire world in fear. A wild blend of ancient history, unbelievable archaeological discoveries, and a complete media frenzy that essentially manufactured a legend. We're going to look at the facts, the rumors, and the actual science to finally put this massive mystery to rest.
We're starting with this incredibly chilling warning, which was famously reported to have been found right outside an ancient tomb, setting off an absolute global panic. Picture the scene. It's 1923. In Cairo's Continental Hotel, a wealthy British lord is dying of a sudden, severe fever. At the exact moment he takes his last breath, at 1:55 a.m., the lights across the entire city of Cairo mysteriously go completely black. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in England, his beloved pet dog suddenly howls and drops dead. I mean, what was to blame? The whole world immediately pointed to this exact curse, allegedly carved in stone to protect the resting place of an ancient Egyptian king.
And you know, the terror didn't stop there. Within just 6 years of opening the tomb, an unbelievable 22 people connected to the discovery died under incredibly bizarre and terrifying circumstances. We're talking about sudden fevers, unexpected infections, a radiologist who mysteriously passed away, and even the 78-year-old father of a secretary who tragically jumped from his 7th-floor apartment. To the general public, it seemed completely undeniable. The pharaoh was taking his revenge.
Section 1. The 3,000-year-old mystery. Unearthing Tutankhamun. Now, our story really centers around a British archaeologist named Howard Carter. And Carter wasn't your typical elite scholar. He was a sickly kid, the son of an animal painter, whose only real inheritance was a paintbrush. But he had a total obsession. For 15 long years, backed by his wealthy sponsor, Lord Carnarvon, Carter dug through the blistering heat of the Valley of the Kings. Carnarvon has literally spent the equivalent of millions in today's money and basically told Carter, look, this is your last season. Then, on November 4th, 1922, a stairway was found hidden in the rock. By November 24, those stairs were cleared, revealing a sealed door bearing the royal seal of Anubis and a name, Tutankhamun. Finally, on November 26th, Carter breached the door.
When Lord Carnarvon asked if he could see anything through the breached door, Carter famously replied that he saw wonderful things, and he definitely wasn't exaggerating. This pristine tomb housed over 5,000 spectacular ancient artifacts. To put that into perspective, we were talking about 5,398 perfectly preserved objects. There was a 10-kilogram solid gold death mask, a dagger forged from meteorite iron, a solid gold coffin, and full-on chariots. It was, without a doubt, the greatest archaeological discovery in human history, totally untouched by grave robbers for 3 millennia. But almost immediately, horrifying coincidences started to plague the team, convincing the local population that ancient retribution was at hand. I mean, before the tomb was even fully opened, a cobra, which is a powerful symbol of Egyptian royalty, slithered right into Carter's birdcage and ate his golden canary. The locals completely panicked, seeing it as a direct warning from the dead king. Then came Lord Carnarvon's fatal infected mosquito bite, that inexplicable Cairo blackout, and the death of his dog Susie. The hysteria reached such an absurd peak that even Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the brilliant mind who created Sherlock Holmes, publicly stated he believed an evil elemental had caused Carnarvon's death.
And then the media frenzy just skyrocketed when an autopsy revealed a mark on the mummy's face identical to the bite that killed the expedition's sponsor. In 1926, Dr. Douglas Derry unwrapped the mummy of Tutankhamun. Right there on the ancient cheek was a circular mark, in the exact same spot where the mosquito had bitten Lord Carnarvon. The newspapers went absolutely wild. The curse of the pharaoh wasn't just a local superstition anymore. It was front-page global news printed in massive, bold letters right across the Daily Mail, the Morning Post, and the Daily Express.
So the entire world was absolutely convinced that the pharaoh's wrath had been unleashed. But you and I have to stop and ask a pretty fundamental question here. Was any of this actually real? We've seen the eerie coincidences, the terrifying headlines, and the very real, tragic deaths. But if we want to truly learn from this explainer, we need to peel back all that sensationalism and look at the hard facts. Why does this matter so much? Because it perfectly shows how easily a compelling myth can just completely overshadow the truth. Let's see how this shapes our understanding of the Boy King.
Section 2. The real Tutankhamun. The Boy King.
Well, the stark reality of the situation stands in deep contrast to the myth. Far from being some powerful, vengeful deity, Tutankhamun was actually a really frail teenager afflicted with genetic diseases and malaria. He was born into a very chaotic era, taking the throne at just 8 or 9 years old, and because inbreeding was incredibly common in Egyptian royalty at the time, he suffered from severe genetic deformities. He had a really bad clubfoot and Kohler's disease, which meant he couldn't walk a single step without immense pain, literally requiring the 130 walking sticks they found in his tomb. His life was difficult, and he died suddenly when he was only 18 or 19 years old.
Section 3. Science debunks myth. Uncovering the truth.
Okay, so remember that terrifying warning inscribed on the tomb we talked about at the very beginning? Yeah, it never existed. It was entirely fabricated by an amateur archaeologist and a journalist who were just looking to sell papers. Decades later, the tomb's security chief actually confessed that when a reporter asked if they had found any curses, they simply didn't deny it. Their silent smile allowed the reporter to literally invent the clay tablet inscription out of thin air. So the entire bedrock of the curse myth was just a classic fake news story. And this whole thing just brilliantly illustrates how mundane facts were twisted into these crazy horror stories. Cairo in the 1920s, it had power outages constantly. It was completely routine. As for Susie the dog, well, if you factor in the time zones, she died hours later, not simultaneously. And Carnarvon didn't fall to some sudden ancient curse. His health was already failing him, which is exactly why he moved to Egypt's warmer climate in the first place. In 1923, before modern antibiotics, a simple infected bug bite was tragically deadly.
But what about all those other mysterious illnesses? You know, the ones that hit the workers and archaeologists. Well, they can actually be attributed to this ancient fungus, Aspergillus niger, which causes respiratory infections that are completely curable today. In 1963, a doctor named Ezzeddin Taha examined museum workers and found this exact fungus living in the ancient tombs. It caused the respiratory inflammation that led to some of those early fevers. So it wasn't magic, it was just microbiology. Now, in a twist of irony that you literally can't make up, right after giving a press conference debunking the curse using this exact science, Dr. Taha tragically died in a car accident.